today we wanted to talk about, sometimes we circle back on things on this meeting that, when a question's asked 3 times in a week that hadn't been asked in a year, is something we should talk about. And that has definitely been in the past couple of weeks, rental income on exit homes. So me and Polly wanted to go over kind of each agency and if there's any quirks on when we would not be using that income. So can I just kind of get you to lead this, Polly, with like kind of starting with each agency?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, Polly.
Okay.
Hi, Polly.
Happy Friday. Go Chiefs.
Uh,
So for Fannie Mae, we had a couple of questions come up this week. And when I called Fannie Mae to discuss rental income on an exit home, the gal that I spoke with actually said that about every 5th call she takes is how to calculate rental income on an exit property. Which I thought was interesting because we had batted it back and forth for a couple of days around underwriting and underwriting management. Basically what we found out from Fannie Mae is that there is no guide that is set in stone on how to calculate rental income for maintaining an exit home as a rental property. We would have to have a fully executed 1-year lease, evidence of receipt of the security deposit. But the caveat is that if you Google vacating an exit home, it refers you back to the rental income section and you go to the if/when table. And the very last one says that the lender must support and document its reasons for approving the use of rental income. So basically what she said is it's lender underwriter discretion, and that the factors in the file are going to warrant what you can consider. Have they had a previous history of rental income, either on that property or on another property? Are the ratios like still in line using some rental income, or are we completely maxed out? Do we have reserves? What's the loan to value? Just there's a lot of things that go into it. And in the case, this was one of them was Jan's file. The borrower had actually rented out the basement apartment for the last year. So that was a comp factor to show that he had the ability to support it. I would say we haven't had this come up a lot on Fannie Mae. But from what underwriting management told me at VIP is that they're seeing it more and more often where people are trying to get non-contingent purchase agreements. So they're going to maintain their current home. So just keep that in mind. I mean, best case is hit them with a full PITIA. If you can't do that, can we just offset the PITI? And if we need to use rental income, then I would say that it really needs to mandatorily come to scenarios so we can look at it and see what we're doing. For Freddie Mac, their policy is more lenient. They'll use 75% of the gross rents. You can only offset the PITI, no rental income. And it has to be supported with a fully executed lease agreement. Both agencies, it has to be a 1-year lease. It can't be month to month. Freddie Mac also stipulates that it has to be supported with a Form 1007, which is the fair market rent schedule, or you have to have evidence of 2 months receipt of rental income, which if it's an exit property, you're not going to have that. So we're going to have to get the fair market rental schedule for that property to support that what the fair market rent is. So with Freddie Mac, it's a little more cut and dried. One thing also that we talked about is that, when we're making our decision on Fannie Mae, we're probably going to, Google the property and see what the Zillow estimate is for rental rates. If Zillow's showing the market rental rates are, $2,000 a month and we've got a lease for $3,500, obviously that's going to kind of be hard to support. So keep that in mind. You might just automatically Google the property and see what the estimate is for the rent, and see if the lease that they're telling you is in line. One thing we don't want to see is that we just start seeing how much they need to rent it for so we can get them to qualify. For government loans, for jumbo loans, John, I forwarded you that. Did you get that email?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
forward it to everybody after the meeting.
So you might just forward that on to, because honestly, I just pulled it so fast, I don't even remember what I sent you. Sorry.
I think the question was, it came up yesterday that some of the jumbo lenders require that we document 25% equity in their
That's
home,
Chase, and
and that's only
it's-
Chase, it looks like,
Chase, and they require 30% equity.
30% equity.
Yeah.
Um,
Redwood is 75%. And you can only offset the PITIA. Chase is the same. And Wells is the same. They just have different requirements on what you have to do to calculate it. Wells is the most restrictive, where they require that we have 30% equity in the departure property. They're all going to require additional 6 months reserves. Usually it's a minimum of 6. And like I said, I just did a real pull quick of the investor guidelines. Give me more than 20 minutes next time.
It's the last minute thought, sorry about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, well, hell, hang on.
And then, like Redwood takes a lease or, it looks like a 1025. So that's an interesting difference in that they don't, most of the lenders require a lease and possibly a 1025. They will take one or the other. Looks like you don't have to have an executed lease on them. So that's interesting. Can you talk about,
Yeah, and
you did say earlier, for Fannie, they require a copy of the deposit, but I don't think is that correct on Fannie, or that's just jumbo? Best practice?
It's best practice, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to justify why we're using rental income on an exit property. And seriously, if you're going to do it, go Freddie. Because Freddie is the least restrictive as far as, Fannie Mae just basically says that it's lender discretion. So, and that's why when we say over and over that, it's guidelines, it's not a rule book. They'll refer you to a guideline and then they say, but it's lender discretion. So worst case, if you need rental income to qualify over and above offsetting the payment, then you're going to have to go Fannie Mae, but then you're going to have to jump through additional hoops to get it to work. If you just need to offset the payment, go Freddie Mac and get a fully executed lease and a 1007.
Polly, with Fannie, if we don't have any, if this is somebody that has never had rental history in the past, and if we go Fannie looking for rental income, is there any way for us to use rental income over what the PITI is, or can we only use what is just to offset that payment?
It's going to be case by case, and it's going to be looking at the overall strength of the file.
Okay.
And it's going to be more common, I think, in conventional files than anything. FHA is very restrictive. The new property has to be greater than 100 miles away from the exit home. VA, you can only ever offset the PITI. So, if you're needing to use it, then we just need to take a look at it and see, are we doing a, 97% purchase, and retaining the current home? No. So we'll have to take a look at it.
FHA is 100 miles plus an appraisal to prove 25% equity, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So
How do we get,
that's a big jump. Jan?
how do we get the 1007, because doesn't that come with an appraisal order?
No, they can do an appraiser can actually do a 1007, just the 1007 form.
Okay, so if we need that on the exit home, we're ordering something through Appraisal Shield, I'm assuming.
I would assume that you would just go through Appraisal Shield, and all you're going to do is tell them you need a form 1007, and they're going to pull the subject, and they're going to pull rent comps in the area and complete the form, because a 1007 is just an addendum to the original, to an appraisal. So it's completed by itself.
Okay.
Hey, Polly, for jumbos, don't you need like a 2-year history of rental income before you can use rental income? I believe really? I thought Wells Fargo had something like that.
Well, I think the question, if you have a 2-year history, you're using rental income off the tax returns. You're not using.
Right.
And then you can use it
income,
on an exit home. But if you don't, you
And
can't.
you can use it on exit home.
I don't think you can. If you don't have a history, you can't use rental income on exit home unless you go Redwood, I think.
No, I pulled the Wells guide this morning and it says existing primary residence converting to an investment. If it will become an investment property, they must have at least 30% equity in the departure property. 75% of the income is eligible to offset the PITI payment and qualifying.
Oh, okay.
Offset.
Yeah, offset, no additional income.
And when you can
Oh.
use, so in the scenarios that you can use additional income that's Fannie Mae only, and that's to offset the PITI plus use income on people who don't have rental history are able to do that with Fannie Mae.
If we have sufficient evidence to warrant using that additional income.
And so do you have examples of like what those comp factors would be?
Like a previous history of rental management? Like, have they ever owned other rental properties? Do we have a low loan to value? Do we have,
Reserves.
decent ratios?
So if they don't have rental history, do you think that there would be comp factors that would allow them to offset plus use income in the exit property?
If we're a low loan to value and we have substantial reserves,
Maybe.
maybe.
Okay.
So I think we
What
probably
we're,
said earlier.
what we're seeing is that the ratio out that we don't have reserves and that we're doing high loan to value loans on the new purchase. So it's just a layering of risk there. And that's what we're looking for, is the layering of risk. So if we've got a borrower that's doing an 80% purchase and they have, 20 months in reserves after closing, then those are going to be strong comp factors.
And then any other questions about rental income before we move on? Nope.
Just a quick question. I know John and I were kind of talking. I don't know if it was Polly or Alex that was the one that looked at this, but just any clarification regarding using a lease for like family members. I thought there was some sort of restriction on that in the past, but I guess there isn't anymore.
The agencies don't have an overlay for renting to a family member.
So is that another kind of, may have to
That's
document a little heavier?
Yeah, that's another kind of one that you're probably just going to want to offset the PITI.
And to be honest, for the new people, Holly, I don't think I've ever gone Freddie. I always thought Fannie was easier because, if you offset the current mortgage, that's enough. Most times you don't need an extra $200 of income to qualify. If you're offsetting a $1,500 payment, your debt to income is probably going to be fine.
Yeah,
So I've always
but-
done Fannie Mae.
and that's what we're running into now, though, is that we're starting to see more files that need additional income
Oh, wow.
to qualify. So that's where we're running into an issue, and that's why it started coming up. And like I said, in conversations with underwriting management, they're seeing they're seeing a huge increase in the amount of people that are needing to use rental income over and above the payment.
Interesting. Okay.
I have a quick
That's
question.
why we
on-
wanted to get in front of it.
Yeah, no, good call. I've still never done that. That's crazy.
Going back to the family member, with my clients, a lot of times they're not related, but they share the same last names. It's just common, like Hernandez, Martinez, etc. So what do you recommend that I have? Like if they're not related and I'm going, for example, this Atienzo file, I need the income. Should I get an LOE signed by the tenant and the borrower stating that they're not related?
Is this the one where he's been renting the basement?
Yeah, it's just that they, no, okay.
No, because in this case, we have documentation that he's been receiving rent for 12 months from that same tenant.
Okay,
We're just going to modify the lease for the full house versus just the basement apartment.
Right. Okay, cool.
But in the future, we may want to just get that LOE, so we know what the situation is, Polly.
Yeah, I mean, if we're trying to justify using over the payment and the names are the same, then yeah, an LOE would probably help.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Awesome. This has been great. Part two, I wasn't going to originally cover this today, but Casey asked me a question about crypto, which I had not seen any new announcements about being able to use crypto. So we dug into it a little bit more and did clarify that we have 4 investors that will take Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae, 4 investors, crypto. They have to document the money they use to buy the crypto and then document the liquidation and deposit into a normal bank account for us to use those funds. I think I'm summarizing that right, Polly?
Yes, and we've only had one, I've only had one file. Alex, I don't know if you've had any.
I had one. They eventually ended up going with another asset plan because
Yeah,
the
that's what
client had
happened with
so
mine.
much trouble documenting everything we needed.
Yeah, and that's the biggest issue is that a lot of people that have crypto, they invest over a period of time. So in order for us to verify that we have to verify that they purchased all of the crypto with their own cash. So if they, purchased the bulk of it 2 years ago, and then they've just been purchasing a little bit, from there on, we have to document that original purchase was their own cash and it wasn't credit. So that's where it becomes a sticky wicket, is just trying to document that it was purchased with their own funds.
Is there a seasoning timeframe that has to take place with that once they sell that value of coin or crypto that they've offloaded?
Is there a seasoning for the deposit?
Yes.
No, we just have to document where it came from, just like any other deposit.
Well, Ben, if they sold it 3 months ago and you don't see deposit in the bank statement, then I don't think you have to document it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we're
what
only
you're
going to
asking?
require large deposits in the last 2 months or 1 month if it's LP.
What if they got a gift to purchase the crypto?
Then it's gift funds.
Okay. Well, I mean, because I haven't, don't worry, I haven't issued a pre-approval on this one, but they got $10,000 from their dad, let's say 6 months ago, and they bought crypto. So it's sitting in Bitcoin right now. And the question came up on, can I use that money? So I'm just, trying to figure out if they pull it and it's not, they pull it into the account within 30 days, would I just get a gift letter and document that that's where the money came from to originally buy the crypto?
What kind of loan are you doing?
Conventional CHFA. That was my other question. Was CHFA always says we follow Fannie Freddie guidelines.
Right. So you'd need a gift letter and evidence of receipt. We don't verify the owner's account.
Okay.
So if they do a gift letter for $10,000 and we have verification that the funds are deposited into the borrower's account, that's what we need.
And so they're having to document every purchase for the crypto to total the amount that they're then taking out. If I'm
Correct.
not,
Correct.
okay.
So usable, difficult.
Usable, difficult, and honestly, I mean, between the two of us, Alex and I have only seen 2 files that had it, and it ended up going someplace else. We used a different asset because it was so hard to document.
So maybe have them do it and season it if that's possible.
With crypto, does it like change value like stocks? I don't know, because I only use real money. So I'm kind of confused on how it works. I mean, does it like increase in value just like stocks would?
Yeah, it fluctuates in value over time.
Yeah. There's exchanges that show all the prices and they change all the time. Bitcoin bounces between like 31,000 and 60,000 over a course of a few months. And then you can own like portions of a coin or whatever. So we can document the value for sure.
And then when you sell it, it could be lower than what you purchased it at, just like a stock.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Debit cards. Use
Um,
cash.
Well, this was fantastic. Anybody have any other questions? All right, go lock some loans. Y'all have a great day. Thanks, Polly. Thanks for jumping on, Alex.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Bye, guys.
Colin.